On Memorial Day, the group visited the American War Cemetery in Nettuno, Italy. There was a Memorial Day commemoration recognizing the sacrifices of American soldiers who fought and died in Italy during World War II. Eugene Gutierrez was an honored guest and represented the surviving members as well as his fallen comrades.
I'm particularly grateful to see that we're joined today by 2 veterans, as well as 4 family members representing soldiers who participated in the Italian campaign. I'm pleased to recognize Mr. Eugene Gutierrez, who fought here as a member of the service company of the 1st Special Service Force.
Nettuno American Cemetery is where most of the force members are buried. There might be 300 to 400 there. I think there's 6 or 7 of my platoon members who were killed in action who are buried there, and I always try to go to where they're buried and just visit.
The Cemetery Museum marked the event by officially opening a new wing and visitor center.
Cemetery, and welcome to this ribbon-cutting ceremony for our new visitor center. Mr. Gutierrez is a vet, so we need to let Mr. Gutierrez in.
Thank you.
General Corsini.
This is Eugene Gutierrez.
Hello, Gene. Hi.
Texas?
Mr. Simons from Texas. Yes.
South Texas, yeah, back out.
Yes.
Rita, here we are in Nettuno, Memorial Day, and you are here doing something a little different than what we are. As a tour, you're honoring your brother, who was a Canadian, at this American ceremony.
Probably the only one. They did pick him because he was part of the force, which was Canadian-American, and they wanted a Canadian to show the good relations between the 2 countries. When he saved his American friend from Kansas, one of theirs, he was wounded and he received the Silver Star. And so that photo that is on the panel, we had that photo in our living room at home since 1945.
Some members of the group were disappointed as the prolonged events of the day hadn't allowed Eugene and others the chance to visit the graves of friends and loved ones, nor the time for personal reflection they had hoped for. So a small group decided to make a special trip back to the cemetery in hope of solace and perhaps closure. For the families of the forcemen who were laid to rest in foreign soil, very few have been able to visit their loved ones to say goodbye in a meaningful way. For them, their loss and grief seems unfinished. Lynn Pierce Nymark never met her father, who fought and died in the mountains of Italy, and this was her first visit to his gravesite, to say hello and goodbye.
Staff Sergeant T.E. Marks, Headquarters 2nd Regiment, killed in action 30th of May, 44. What do you remember about that?
We were together at Anzio prior to the push, and I knew him from Montana.
Reading the stones and looking at the stones and the dates and all that, it brings back where you may have been at that time. You know, to tell you the names on the stones, the people that you trained and worked with and lived with and fought with, it's kind of earth-shaking. today.
I can visualize the members that are there that were killed in action that were close to me. Well, it's a sad moment for me for them to have been taken away, and try to remember them and keep them in my prayers a lot.
That's funny. I'm not normally this way. I don't usually get sentimental. I guess that's the right word. But it is very gut-wrenching to read a name on the stone who you were drinking with yesterday, so to speak.
One aspect of being a combined U.S. and Canadian military unit that force members and families have found emotionally unresolved is that the two countries have separate cemeteries in Europe.
When the guys were hit, this is what really, as you can see, I'm sort of, when somebody in the unit was killed, if he was Canadian, he was sent to the Commonwealth Cemetery. If he's American, he went to Nettuno to the American Cemetery. And you wouldn't believe how that affected a lot of people, saying, here we've been, now 2 years together, and we're like one group. Somebody said the Band of Brothers. Well, if you want them, there was a band of brothers.
It kind of, I'm sorry. I can't talk very much on that. It bothers me a bit. It hasn't bothered me for years, but now it's bothering me a bit.
The Americans and Canadians both were a little teed off because we couldn't be buried together. So for us, we visited the Nettuno Cemetery because all the Americans are buried there. The Canadians are buried in the Commonwealth Cemetery in Casino, and the Anzio, and the Beachhead one, and so you're split. We got into the Casino one where most of my company that were on defense that were killed are buried. And everybody was going along looking and saying, oh, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so. Then they said, okay, guys, we got to get going. We got outside that cemetery, and I don't think there was one guy that didn't have tears. You know, and by the time you get through, you really can't say much because you're all choked up. And by the time you get out of that cemetery, you're just about crying.
In a way, it was kind of nice to see that your friend who had given his life for the country, whether it would be the United States or Canada, didn't matter. Here is a man who volunteered to fight for his country and had lost his life, and at least his country has buried him properly. And that's important.